I think the comparisons to both those guys are really in their demeanor in terms of the game of football. Both guys have a great passion for the sport of football. Between the white lines, those two are great competitors. And I always said this about Kareem: if you had come and watched our Toledo practices, he was a phenomenal football player on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then obviously on Saturdays you saw a great product, and now the world's seeing a great product. And David's got a lot of those similarities. He's a guy that between the white lines is phenomenal. He loves to practice, he's engaged, he's competitive, he wants to win at everything. So I think that's where, the mental comparisons come in. I think the physical comparisons are they're both big, strong physical backs. David, probably a guy in terms of wiggle, is probably got a little bit more wiggle, where Kareem is probably more of a straight line. Kareem was a track guy, where David's more of a, he'd probably be an unbelievable center fielder. So, but between both of them, there's a lot of similarities in their game, how they play. Both great blockers. Both guys can catch the ball in the backfield, and both guys certainly can run the football. So, both really special football players. Yeah, I say this, and just with this reality, I really don't remember a whole lot other than that really good quarterback that's lighting the NFL world on fire, got hurt. And, I think if he doesn't get hurt, that's probably a different football game in a lot of ways. But, I think the thing for us, way more than that win had to do with us and our program, was some of those gut-wrenching losses at the end, and certainly the West Virginia game to finish off the season. I think that had a profound effect on us as much as, the week prior to that in that game. So, I certainly, anytime in a program where you're trying to win games and you're trying to rebuild a culture, anytime you can get a win is certainly positive, because it gives you, I think, maybe a little bit of insurance as a coach, is what we're trying to preach is a positive. But, I think we really focused on some of those really tough losses, especially coming back the next week and losing at West Virginia. That was really what we used going forward, way more than that win. It's a really good point. We have, and I think it's one of those things we probably have used maybe more guys earlier than we thought we would, but that's certainly a positive because they've earned the right to play. Now I think we got to be really smart as we go into the kind of the last half of it, of how do we use these guys? Some of these guys, do we want to, continue to play them? Do they need to continue to play for us to be the best version of ourselves, or do we not? So, as a staff, we've talked a lot about that, to be honest with you, over the last couple of days, with some guys that are really in that position now, where we've got to be really smart in what do we do and how do we use them. Yeah, I think anytime you're a young player, the opportunity to, take a step back, evaluate your play, especially for him, where he's been thrusted into a really, critical role, critical situation, and, thrust into it in the middle of the season. I thought it was really good for him to just take a step back and be able to evaluate, what have I done well, and what are some of those areas that I need to do better. And Brock would tell you there's still a lot of those areas that need to happen. And I think that's been a real positive. We were able to attack that as a program, and certainly as an offense, to continue to find ways to help him be the best version of himself as well. So I think for everybody involved, real positive. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things to me offensively that stick out. Number one, you're right. Both big receivers on the outside are having a really great year for them. I think the quarterback aspect of it, no matter who's been in a quarterback, have given all those receivers a real opportunity to catch and make big plays. And I think that's something that certainly catches your eye. But the other thing that's been really impressive is, he went with a couple young offensive linemen a year ago, and now that young offensive line has grown into a veteran offensive line, and that's a group that's played really well for them, especially in some critical moments. So, a really, I think, complete offense, and a really football team that's very confident who they are and what they're doing right now, and it's been impressive to watch. Yeah, I think there's some similarities, not so much in structure to what we do, but I think in terms of philosophy, very multiple in what they're doing. I think, again, defensively, I want to say 10 starters back from last year's defense, a defense that I know even we went against a year ago, and we came away really impressed with what we went against. They're physical, linebackers can really run. The defensive line, a lot of those guys that play, they understand where they need to be in their fit. And now, I think another year into it, you add some great multiplicity to what they're doing, and they're they can pressure you, they can come from every angle, but yet they also have the ability to, you know, play their base defense and really force you to drive the football. So I think it's a great challenge for our offense in a lot of ways, because it's just their matchup and how they match up and how skilled they are. But they've done a great job defensively really all year. You know, even the West Virginia game really allowed them to get back into the football game, and their defense did some great things. So, you know, I've got a lot of respect for them, certainly how they've gone about building that defense and really how their kids play on the defensive side. It's been really impressive. Yeah, boy, I think very similar to Datrone, and is make me play you. You know, he's a guy that fall camp, if you came out to fall camp and you watched our football team practice, I think you'd left there and you'd say, whoa, that guy's got a chance to be really special. And, you know, that's hard to do because Chase was playing, and I think we all saw Chase playing those first couple of weeks, maybe as good as any tight end out there, you know. And Charlie was step for step right with Chase, and that's a good problem to have, you know. And so yeah, I think for us, we felt really confident, even though that nobody wants to see a guy get injured as Chase did, but we at least felt confident that until Chase gets back, that you got a guy that can go in there and really replicate what you want that tight end position to be able to do for us. And, you know, we ask a lot of that tight end position flexed out, attached, you know, in the backfield at times, and Charlie's one of those guys that can do all those things for us. We think his future is really, really bright. I think he'll only continue to be not only a good player in our offense, but I think he'll become a focal point in what we try to do offensively, because he's got that kind of skill set. Yeah, I don't really, because to be honest with you, if you recruit the right kids, you don't have to worry about those things. I think it's communication. You know, I think that's why Brock's playing at a young age, because he can handle it. And, you know, I think fame is kind of a loose term, you know, a little bit. He's played 2 football games, you know, and sometimes in Ames, Iowa, we grant everybody fame with success early. So, you know, we just kind of talk about those things. We kind of go back to work, and luckily Brock's got a great family, great parents who I think have really laid a great foundation in him. And, you know, he's had a very similar experience in high school, had to play early, had a lot of success early in his high school program, and it's really what's allowed him to have success. So, you know, we don't overcoach those things other than just communication, but really fortunate to have Brock. He's a good football player.